Hey y'all, it's Ernie. I figured I'd give myself a try at helping everyone out during quarantine, showing you a little bit of something that I love to cook, and it's something that I just got good at cooking, and it's actually my mom's pot roast. It's something that I grew up eating, and so hoping that this helps anyone out who wants to try their hand at something they might have been intimidated by. It's a pretty simple recipe. It's just time consuming. It'll take about 3.5 hours to cook. But it's just a chuck roast. Mine's about 2.6 pounds. You can go a little bit bigger. You probably don't want to go a little bit smaller because it's going to shrink down so much. But chuck roast is really good because it's going to have a lot of fat in it. It's going to marble down and break down and be just pull apart delicious at the end. But I like to use a rub on this that my mom told me about. It is about a half cup of fresh ground coffee. You can use any coffee. I just use my Dunkin' Donuts coffee that I have here. You use something like a Kona or a dark roast, you're gonna get more flavor out of it, but honestly, I like it with the Dunkin'. You're gonna use 2 heaping tablespoons of salt, just your regular table salt. You're gonna use a tablespoon of garlic powder. You're gonna use a teaspoon of ground coriander, a tablespoon of black pepper, and I'll probably end up adding more, I just love pepper. I've got a teaspoon here of ground mustard, and then a half teaspoon each of red chili pepper flakes and dill weed. So you can add those all up, grab yourself a fork, just give it a good mix. That way you're going to see that it's a heavy coffee blend, but there's a lot of the other seasonings in there that you can see. If you want, you can run it through a coffee grinder just to mix everything together. Obviously, you ground the coffee in this, or you usually grind coffee in it, so it's not going to hurt that it's going to get that coffee flavor in there, but make sure to wash it out after, so when you go to grind your coffee for when you're drinking it, you're not drinking ground mustard. So we're going to take the roast, and I've been letting this roast set out for about 30 minutes here just to get up to room temperature, so that when it goes into the pan, it's going to be on the lukewarm or room temperature side, so it's not cool, so that way you can get a really good sear on it, which is really one of the main parts of a good pot roast, is getting a good sear. So again, here is my about 2.5 pound chuck roast. Probably about 1.5 to 2 inches thick. And then you're gonna generously coat it. You're gonna have plenty, so don't worry about being messy with it. But make sure that you push it in and you get all sides of it, not just the top and bottom. Emily's gonna have a fit when she sees this mess. But I'll clean it up before she realizes it. So there, I only got about that much left of my rub. And from that point, I'm just gonna make sure I've got all the crevices here. Wash my hands real quick. I always keep extra towels laying all around here. Emily probably gets sick. I know we have to do a ton of laundry all the time, but it's just easier to always have clean towels rather than burning through paper towels, especially as hard as they've been defined in quarantine here. So I'm just going to use roughly about that much, just a good heaping tablespoon of coconut oil. Coconut oil is good. It's got a nice high smoke point, so you're not going to have to worry about burning the oil. And you want to use just about enough to coat the pan, almost a little bit less than the depth of the pan there. I've got my burner set to medium. You don't need it to be smoking hot high. When you're grilling, that's a little different, but with a situation like this, you're gonna get a good sear and it's gonna smoke, or it's gonna cook for a while, so it doesn't need to be, you know, roaring hot. And people's pans are all different too, so you wanna make sure that it's just got a good steam to it. I'm actually gonna pull a little bit of oil out of here, put a little too much in. It's probably dumb to do, so make sure you're careful, because that is very hot dripping oil. All right, so once we got that hot and we got this seared, or we got this seasoned, I'm gonna put it right in the pan. You're gonna get a little bit of smoke from everything there. You're gonna wanna make sure to give it a good sear. That's a little hot. But as you can see, the roast is about the size of the pan here. So we're gonna get it good and cooked on all sides. If you feel the need to, you can sear aside multiple times. It's not gonna hurt. This is slow cooking. It's not something that we're gonna have on this heat for the whole time. We're gonna let it, you know, simmer in some water. But just to give you a look at it, that's the first side seared. Get a good crust on it. So even as it cooks down though, when you take a bite, it's gonna have a good, nice, charred crust. Flip it again. All right, yeah, that's looking good. I have an onion out here. This is gonna come in about an hour and a half into the cooking process. I'm gonna add an onion into the pot just to let it cook down, give the roast even more flavor. If you want to, just because I'm doing low carb, I'm not doing potatoes and carrots right now, you can add potatoes and carrots. I would say probably russet potatoes. About an hour and a half as well, maybe a little bit less than the onions, because it's perfectly fine if onions cook down, but if your potatoes or your carrots get too cooked, they'll just get really mushy. So as you can see right here, I'm holding the roast up on its side just to make sure that all of the sides of the roast are getting a good sear on them. And I really hope my upstairs neighbors, my new neighbors, they've moved in this weekend, don't have to hear me doing this. It's a little embarrassing. Gonna keep searing on the sides. It's gonna look like stuff's burning. It's gonna smell like stuff's burning. You're just getting a good burn or a good sear on the meat, so it's gonna come. Oh, and if you need a tip, if you've never heard of this stuff, never used this stuff before, when you're cleaning out pans like this, because we use stainless steel, and I've got these Le Creuset cast iron pans, and it sticks, you don't want to use, you know, a wire scrubbing brush. Barkeeper's Friend is phenomenal at getting stuck on foods off of your nice pans, so you don't have to ruin them by over scrubbing them. Barkeeper's Friend stuff's awesome. I think you can find it at Bed Bath & Beyond. Giving this one more good sear on each big side. All right, now here is the part that may sound a little weird to y'all, but we are gonna add water to this. I want you to be really careful when you're adding the water, because this is hot oil that's in here, so I like to just have my pan there and use it as a deflector. And let's just a little bit more. So I probably used about 10 to 12 ounces of water there, just adding it in. And I'll pull you guys off here for a second. All right, so here's what you're looking for on the depth of the water. As you can see right there, it's not completely covered, but it is mostly covered. About 3/4 of the way up the roast, and then you want to turn your heat down to a medium low. We just want this to simmer. We don't want it to keep boiling, otherwise it can make the meat too tough. So I'll put everyone back on here. I'm not as professional as Bucky and Brandon are, so you know, I'm gonna be a little more rough on this one. Anyways, yeah, so what we've got now, so we did the sear, we added the water, we're gonna let this sit. You wanna make sure to set it or check it like every 20 minutes or so, maybe 25, 30 minutes. You don't want the water to get too low and eventually evaporate and end up burning your roast, because that's a lot of time wasted. So I'm gonna check this about every 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. If it needs a little more water, I'll add a little bit more water. But in an hour and a half, I'm going to very roughly chop this onion and add it to the pot. And then we'll cook it for another hour and a half, and I'll show you guys how to do the test just to see if it's done. So we'll call that good for right now. So this is what you're looking for here, just a nice low simmer, maybe even a little bit higher than this is, but you're gonna let it cook and cook and cook, and it's eventually gonna fall apart. You can even see right now that the meat's already starting to, the fat's starting to caramelize a little bit. You're getting a good breakdown there. All right, so we're at an hour mark here, and if you remember to do it at that point in time, that's great. Every hour should give the roast a flip. So cook nice and even. All right, so I went and slightly fixed my hair for everyone, but we're at the hour and a half point. So we are gonna take a look here and see how everything's going. All right. So there's our pot roast right there. We're gonna have plenty of jus down here. You can make a gravy with it, or you can just leave it as is, reduce it a little bit, and pour it over. But if you can remember, every hour if you get to it, flip the pot roast, so it'll get 3 turns there. But now we're just gonna add in a very roughly chopped onion. All right. Just to give it a little bit more flavor, just break it up. Get it in there. And these will be phenomenal after they've cooked for another hour and a half, 2 hours. All right, so make sure you're checking your water. Make sure that that's not getting too low, and you don't want to burn that roast, but go back to very partially covered, and I don't think I covered that with you guys last time. You're gonna want just a little bit of an opening there. You don't want to have it sealed so it steams. You want to have it, you know, just be able to capture some moisture so the moisture drops back down onto the roast, but be able to vent a little bit. So anyways, I will see y'all in about an hour and a half for the unveiling. So make sure you're checking that water every 20-30 minutes. Make sure that you're flipping it every hour if you can. Otherwise, I'll talk to you soon. All right, so we are at our 3-hour mark here, and I've got Emily running the video here so we can get a better view, but this is our finished product.
Wow, the smell is unreal.
So you're definitely gonna want to let it sit because it's gonna be very tender, very juicy, but I'm using a fish turner here just to get under it.
Woo-wee.
So I know that this one's done just by being able to cut it with my fork, but the trick that my mom always taught me is if you stick a fork in and you turn it and it breaks up like that,
Oh, wow.
then you know it's good and done. So you can take the rest of this, if you want to pan it in.
Mm-hmm.
Take the rest of that and you can continue to cook it down. You can see the onions there. So you can pull those out and drape them on the roast, or just continue to cook this. It'll get a little bit thicker. If you want to add some flour, you can. turn it into a gravy, but that stuff is delicious. You don't want to leave it to waste. So, anyways, this is my mom's pot roast. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you try it out. Let me know if you like it. But I appreciate you spending some time with me. Thanks.